Hi everyone, this is Sam with the Wine News in 5. Before I get to the news, I just want to remind you that our yearly wine writing competition is up and running. So if you've ever felt like writing an ode to a grape variety, please do so and submit your entry. In terms of global news, today we'll discuss hail and champagne, the Duckhorn Portfolio closing multiple brands, mining in Mendoza, a French wine export scheme that's meant to lessen the impact of US tariffs, and then we'll briefly check back in on 2024 Bordeaux en Premier. Starting with hail and champagne. On May 3rd, hail hit Champagne, affecting between 500 and 1,000 hectares, which is around 1,250 to 2,500 acres of vineyard, mostly in the municipalities of Saint-Martin-des-Blois, Vinay, Pierre, and Epernay, with some damage in the northern part of the Côte de Blanc. Damage is variable, with producers reporting losses of up to 80% in the most heavily impacted areas. Broken shoots and damaged inflorescences, which are the flower heads that will turn into grapes, will result in a smaller crop this year, but there's no way of knowing how much smaller. Some producers are hopeful that vines will push secondary buds. While this is bad news for Champagne, it's important to keep in mind that hail is localized and variable. While the worst affected areas on May 3rd saw hailstones the size of eggs, most of the Marne Valley, Ain, and the Montagne des Reims saw no damage whatsoever. On to Duckhorn closing multiple brands. On May 6th, the Duckhorn Portfolio announced that they were reallocating the resources previously dedicated to Canvasback, Migration, Paradox, and Postmark to their core brands of Duckhorn Vineyards, Costa Brown, Decoy, and Sonoma Cutrer, along with Goldeneye, Calera, and Greenwing. In essence, they're closing down operations for 4 brands. They're also closing the tasting room for Sonoma Cutrer. Trying to follow what's happening to the Duckhorn Portfolio in the last few years is giving me whiplash. In 2023, they acquired Sonoma Cutrer from Brown-Forman. Then, last year, after undergoing a serious sales slump, they were acquired by Butterfly Equity. 2 months ago, there were rumors that they were acquiring part of Constellation's portfolio, which now seems highly unlikely given that this week they announced they're closing brands. Where will they be in 6 months from now? Next, mining operations in Mendoza. As Amanda Barnes, our Mendoza-based correspondent, points out, this piece of news has been brewing for a long time. In December 2023, Argentina inaugurated a new president, Javier Milei, and one of the platforms he ran on was stabilizing the economy and decreasing inflation. When he took office in December 2023, inflation in Argentina was in excess of 25% a month. A year later, it was 2.2% a month. Part of Milei's strategy is to lift regulations that were placed on industry in order to strengthen the economy. And one of the things that has been heavily regulated since the early 2000s is mining. Up until now, Mendoza, which sits on sizable copper reserves from the copper-rich Andes, has relied upon wine as its top export product. But the wine industry is suffering, as we know, and Mendoza's governor, Alfredo Cornejo, elected in September of 2023, campaigned on creating mining jobs. Last year, he reformed the mining procedure code and created Malargüe Western Mining District, which is MDMO, which is an area in southern Mendoza where they've streamlined exploration projects. According to an article that the Financial Times ran this week, 6 projects that are in the pipeline have the potential to make Argentina into one of the top 10 producers of copper in the world by 2031, despite producing almost no copper right now. One of these, PSJ Cobra Mendocino, co-owned by Switzerland's Zonda Metals and Argentina's Alberdi Group, aims to start production by 2028. Mining, which is a water-intensive industry, will be in direct competition with winemaking for water. Cornejo has promised strict water monitoring. The FT quoted the head of Argentina's wine chamber as saying that as long as water use and quality are monitored, the wine industry doesn't have a problem with this. If I'm honest, the idealist in me really hates that part of the answer to economic turmoil is mining. But it would be incredibly unfair to judge Argentina for taking advantage of their natural resources, especially when you consider how much neighboring Chile has benefited from being the #1 producer of copper worldwide. On to a French wine export scheme. On May 8th, the European Commission approved a €5 billion scheme to assist France in insuring themselves against political volatility, while they attempt to expedite shipping wine to the US ahead of July 9th, which is the date that Trump's reciprocal tariff of 10% will increase the EU's overall tariff rate to 20%. This approval was granted by the EU on the same day that the EU Commission laid out a plan to impose tariffs on 95 billion euros worth of US goods if they can't reach a resolution with the Trump administration. Finally, Bordeaux en primeur. You can check our forum for a more robust breakdown, but I wanted to highlight that May 6th was the largest day for en primeur releases thus far, and Chateau Cheval Blanc cut prices by 29.5% compared to 2023, which makes 2024 their lowest EP price in over a decade. That's all for this episode of Wine News. If you enjoy this newscast and you'd like to see it continue, please subscribe to jancesrobinson.com and like this video. And if you have breaking news in your area, please email news@jancesrobinson.com. Thanks.